But the whole time, I'm focused on them with the baby. And when they first brought him over, they slowed down momentarily enough for me to get this look at him. I was like, oh, that's what you look like. You do have hair, you know. And so they're working on him, and AJ's over there, and he and I make eye contact, and I'm just bawling, and he's just literally like this aura glowing around him, and it was just incredible. And they were working on Cory, and they set him up for me, and he already had a hat on. I was like, can you pull his hat off? I want to see his hair. And they took his hat off, and he was making this face, and I was just, when they were working on him, I was like, he was crying. I was like, cry, baby, cry. Because I knew that him crying was a good sign, and it was good for his lungs and stuff. So it was just, wow. I mean, I went back there at like 5 to 8 o'clock, and by 8:35 he was here, and it was just wow. So they gave him, I think they brought him over and gave him to AJ, or AJ came back over and then they gave him to him. I don't think they let him walk with him, but I was like, bring him close to me, I want to kiss him. So I gave him a little kiss, and I think somebody said something like they're going to take him to the nursery or whatever, and I said, well, let me at least touch him. And I went to go touch him, and even my hand was kind of heavy, and I poked him. He didn't cry or anything, and there's no red mark or anything, but I felt really bad because, you know, here's my baby, and just a few minutes into life, and I'm already poking him with my nails. So then I guess they took him to the nursery. Everything else really is like, I don't really remember too much about going into the recovery room or anything. I remember bits and pieces about being in the recovery room, and I kept trying to stay awake. And I don't know if it was because of the drugs that they gave me that I was so sleepy, or because I really didn't sleep the night before. I literally did not sleep. I tried laying down and got up out of bed like 20 minutes later and didn't try to sleep again. So I don't know what it was that made me so tired, but in the recovery room I kept trying to stay awake and trying to stay awake, and it just seemed like it was taking forever. And they finally took me to my room, and I barely remember that, if I remember it at all. But shortly after I got into the room, or at least as far as I remember it, shortly after, AJ came into the room, and he was pushing, I think he was pushing the bassinet, and I was just, you know, now I get to see my baby. And they brought him over to me, and it still just seemed so surreal, so unreal. I mean, they were showing me this little life, this baby that I guess just came out of me. I didn't see him come out of me, but, you know, I was in the operating room, and, you know, they were doing all this surgery and stuff on me, so he had to have came from me, but it still wouldn't connect to me. And then I was holding him, and I took his hat off, and I took, you know, checked him out a little bit, and opened up his blankets, and just, I don't know, I was just in awe of him, in awe of God and the universe. And so, and then shortly after that, I stripped him down, got him naked, and opened my gown and breastfed. And it took a few tries to get him to latch on, but he was trying his hardest. He did really well, actually. We started off with the football hold. I think I might have started with the cradle hold, but anyways, we did the football hold the first few days. But it was just incredible. So that's my C-section story. Um, and then the recovery part of the C-section, as the day wore on, I couldn't take, and I don't remember the name of the medicine, the usual medicine that they give for pain relief. I couldn't take because it was an NSAID, and I can't have that after gastric bypass. So they ended up giving me morphine. So all that did was make me sleepy because the level of the epidural was still high. You know, it hadn't worn off. Plus the morphine, I just kept dozing off. And as the day went off, the morphine was leaving my body, or not morphine, but the epidural was leaving my body. And the morphine just really wasn't cutting it too much. So we ended up getting that switched over to Lortab, I think. That's what I went home with anyways. And it was really hard to maneuver around in the bed in the beginning because my lower half was so heavy. But then as time wore on, it was because I had incision. So that night I didn't get, that night I didn't get out of bed or anything. And they, kept coming in and checking on me and checking my incision, and they have to poke the abdomen where the uterus is to make sure that it's still, intact, and I think hard is what they look for. It's not going too soft, and, check for bleeding and stuff like that. So, then the next day, I think it was around 6 o'clock in the morning, the nurse that I thought was going to get on my nerves ended up being probably my favorite nurse, Miss Hazel. She came in and took my catheter out and changed my dressing and my bed, helped me change my feminine products, and get washed up and everything. And later on that morning, AJ helped me sit up on the side of the bed. I just couldn't stand laying in bed anymore. My back was hurting because, it's a hospital bed and you can't get comfortable because you have this incision. And I kept just pressing on my tailbone. So I finally got up and sat in bed. Shortly after that, I got up and went to the restroom and didn't have any problems going to the restroom. And from what I understand, I'm a lucky few. Didn't have any problems with urine or bowels moving. And then they give you this little peri bottle, I guess is what they call it. It's just a squirt bottle of warm water. And when you go to the restroom, you just squirt it over your vaginal area because you're leaking blood and amniotic fluid and whatever else. Maybe not amniotic fluid because they take all that out, but just stuff after delivery, so you have to stay clean and stuff like that. And they give you these crazy mesh panties and the old-timey maxi pads with, they used to have a belt that went with them. Feel like a diaper, but you really don't care at this point. You're recovering, plus you have this baby that just takes your mind off everything else. And I know I'm giving a lot of information, but I'm giving this information for other women who are going to be facing a C-section or think they may, and they want information on what happens. So